Hey guys, I'm back with another video from the Hidden Woman Within. Sad to say, I had already started recording this video, and something happened with my phone, and it just booted me out. And I was like 15 minutes in. Now I got to start all over again. So, with that being said, welcome to another video from the Hidden Woman Within. I hope you guys are doing well. Um, so, if this is your first time here, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you will know when I upload a video. Okay? I'm just being me. I mean, it is what it is. So, and I'm not going to start this video again. So, we just going to keep it moving from here. So, I'm going to pick up where I left off, and I'm going to try to remember the things that I said before my phone started acting like it was in charge. I guess it was because it shut that video down. So I've been talking about marriage, and I'm gonna make this real brief because now not in been 15 minutes in here. I was talking about marriage and talked about I was married for 26 years to the same man, and we met at work. We met. We were both doing security at a place. We were from New Jersey. We were both doing security at a place. I actually started working there, doing as a cleaning service. Anybody that knows me, I like to clean. I just like stuff nice, neat, clean, and organized as much as possible. So I was cleaning offices. And then a friend of mine who lived down the street from me who did security told me they had a position open and wanted to know if I'd be interested. So I took that shift. It was a 3 to 7 shift doing security at this building. And my husband was working 8 to 4. So we were there for about um, maybe about an hour, So, but anyway, we got to know each other. And at the time, he was engaged to be married. I think I mentioned that before. He was engaged to be married. And before we go any further, no, I had nothing to do with that, with the dissolution of that relationship. That had nothing to do with me. Um, he was working 2 jobs, and the second job, which was the 8 to 4, got to be too much, and he quit. And I remember my friend and I telling him, "Don't forget to send us a wedding invitation." And so we never got the invitation. And about a year later, my cousin and I were at my friend's house, and he called, and he said, so my friend said, "Guess who's on the phone?" I said, "Who?" And he told me who it was. And so I said, "Let me talk to him." So I remember saying, "Okay, what happened to the wedding invitation we were supposed to get?" And his response was, "Well, I'm at my mother's house." And I'm like, "What did they have to do with anything?" He said it didn't work out at the other house because he was not a Christian, and he was living with the girl that he was engaged to be married to. She was a single mom of 2 young girls. Never met her, but beautiful woman. Saw some pictures of her. And so he came to my friend's house, and because we were over there eating seafood or something, and he came, and the way the apartment was situated, there was an outer door, and then you came into the door, and then there was a door to an apartment downstairs, and you had to come up steps to the upstairs apartment where my friend lived. And so when he knocked on the door, I opened the door and yelled to him, "Come up," because he didn't know to come in the door. And so later, he told me when he saw me standing at the top of the stairs, he said he heard somebody say to him, he said it was almost audible. He said, "I heard, that's your wife." And, but he didn't say anything that day. But he did share that with me later. And so he came upstairs, and we were kind of catching up, getting reacquainted. And I invited him to a cookout the following month, which was July, 4th of July cookout. And I remember my sister and her daughter showed up late, and something was going on with my television. And he was behind the television. And so when my sister and my niece knocked on the door, I hope I'm not talking too fast, but I'm trying to make up for lost time. And anyway, my niece said, Aunt Charlotte, who's that man behind your TV? And what came out of my mouth was, oh, that's my husband. Now, I didn't, it just came out of my mouth. So I still believe that. As a matter of fact, I know that. I was prophetically speaking to myself. The Lord had just put a word in my mouth. He was letting me know that was my husband. And he let my husband know that I was his wife. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that man and I were meant to be married. We just didn't know how to be married, but we were supposed to be married. When we got married, neither one of us, I mean, he was not saved, and I was pretty much, a babe. I had only been saved for like 4 years. And so, anyway, kind of life kind of began. So, I think the part that I want to talk about today is um, very relevant because, I mentioned also before that what's modeled in front of us is what we typically live out. And so there's a saying that children live children learn what they live, and then they live what they learn. So, um, whatever is modeled out in front of a child, I've seen videos of this gentleman was walking with a cane and he was bent over, and then here come the grandbaby with a broom bent over, mocking, walking like his granddad. And just we find that stuff funny, but we don't realize how um, true those things are. That we children watch you do something, and then they'll mimic that. And then as they grow older, I mean, that's a whole new topic. I mean, um, what we feed our children is what they eat, and then as they get older, that's what they eat, and then they feed their kids, and then we wonder, well, the sickness and stuff come from the stuff that we're eating. I'm not going to go there. Okay, I was just talking about learned behavior and different things like that. So excuse me, excuse me. There's a tickle in the back of my throat. So anyway, um, both of our parents were divorced, and so marriage was modeled in front of him, and marriage was modeled in front of me, and they weren't ideal. Not just the marriages of our parents, but grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins that were married, neighbors, people at church. You get a chance to see people interact with other people. I am one of an observer. Um, my husband used to always accuse me of watching him. And I say then and I say now, I'm not watching. I don't know if you want to call it, but I think the way that he meant it was like, you just watching to see what I'm going to do wrong. No, I'm an observer. I remember a situation happened. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I remember a situation where I was at a church, and this husband and wife were there, and I think the thing was that the man was supposed to minister, and it came down that the wife wound up ministering. And I remember I wasn't really watching them; I was looking at the pastor, and he was not a happy camper. He wasn't expecting to have a female in that pulpit on Sunday morning. Now, was I watching him? Kind of, sort of, because I knew what the belief was there, and so I wasn't looking at them. I was watching. I was observing the pastor, and that's kind of what I saw. So but I'm just an observer. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not even gonna try to explain myself. I just observe people, and a lot of times, maybe what I'm seeing isn't what it looks like. A lot of times, what you see isn't what you see. So with that being said, I'm still going on to say that what's modeled out in front of you. Um, I'm going to take a little hike right now. So you have children, even animals, even though they cannot communicate, they watch what you do and then they will respond accordingly if you're consistent enough. Now, I'm currently living with my daughter because I'm on a waiting list for my apartment to go live with the senior citizen because it's a little less expensive to live with them than it was to live where I was living. So I'm here with her. So she has a dog. My grand dog is Pretty Ricky. Pretty Ricky is pretty much trained. He's trained, and he also got us trained. So when my daughter has to go out, she works from home, but if she has to go out for whatever reason, and I'm not here, she will put him in the crate. So what she will say to him is, "Go to bed." And he don't like that because he knows that she's getting ready to leave, but he knows to go and get in his crate. And then she'll lock the thing and then she'll leave. And so, but if I'm home, he doesn't have to go into the crate because, she's trained him to the point that he knows that when she's not home, he doesn't have free run of the house. Even when I had dogs, when I leave the house, oh no, you don't have free run of nothing up in here. Your tail is going in the crate. And it's not that I thought that they would pee or poop. I'm like, no, no. I don't know what you're going to do when I'm not here, but get in the crate. This way I know you're okay and everything is good. So anyway, then like I said, he also has us trained. When he has to go to the bathroom or he wants something like that, he'll come and he'll make it known that, wait, I want a treat. I need to go outside. I'm hungry or whatever the case might be. And we've learned to pay attention to his body language, his little bark and his moans and groans. Like I said, he's kind of got us trained too. So I'm back from my hike. So I said all that to say this is that what we learn is what excuse me we live in marriage, in friendships, or whatever. So with that being said, what I wanted to go into was something that I learned about myself in you can learn a lot of stuff once you're no longer in that situation. And I'm grateful for the experience that I had in marriage. But at the end of the day, I don't believe in divorce. I don't. But you can't make somebody stay. And if they decide they want to leave, you got to let them go. You can't make nobody stay with you. And some people are willing to put in the work, other people are not. And some people like, look, I haven't had enough. I'm out of here. I'm done. And you can't make somebody stay with you. So when my husband left, um, it was quite traumatic, but at the same time, there's things that happened at that time that I can laugh at now that wasn't so funny then. I was like, shoot, that dude's I had enough of this. I'm out of here. But I had what I called, and I see this happen in a lot of women. I call it the SMA syndrome. You're like, what in the world is SMA syndrome? It's called the single mother's attitude. That is what I had. I did not know that's what I had, but I learned later on that's what I had. What do I mean by that? I kind of thought subconsciously, it wasn't anything. I'm like, well, you don't tell me what to do. It wasn't anything like that. The attitude, if it sounds like I'm all over the place, I'm really not. I'm just talking because I kind of got thrown off from what I was talking about before, but I'm going to keep going with this. Um, this single mother's attitude. And what I mean by that is that I subconsciously thought that I could maintain my total independence while being married. That doesn't work. Trust me, it don't work. I remember one day, shortly after we were married, I had purchased a bookcase and I bought it. I brought it home and I put it together. And he came home from work and he remember said, "Where'd that come from?" And I said, "The store." And he was like, "Oh." I'm like, "What's the matter?" He said, "Oh, I just wasn't expecting to come home and find a new piece of furniture in the house." He's thinking one thing, and I'm thinking something. I'm like, "Well, what makes you think I didn't get it?" And so I just kind of brushed it off. I never once thought to consider asking him about buying the bookcase. I didn't feel the need to do that. I mean, my attitude was, I have a job. I've been working a long time and I was making decent money. And when I saw something that I wanted, and if it was in my budget, I went and got it. I didn't ever feel like I needed to ask anybody anything about what I wanted to buy because I'll get up and go to work every day. What you mean? Where did that come from? So that was just kind of one of the things. The other thing that I noticed that I was doing, again, this was after, was, my children and I, we spend a lot of time, around, different members of our family. And so, okay, this thing that was on my phone popped up again. I'm hoping that it doesn't stop the video, but I'm going to keep moving. So, anyway, the other thing that I noticed was I would go and visit a couple of our relatives. And there was times when he'd come home and I wouldn't be home. And he didn't hesitate to call. He would call, cell phone and just say, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm at so and so's house." And he's like, "When are you coming home?" And in the back of my mind, I'm like, "What do you want?" And we weren't married. We weren't even married a good year. And my attitude's like, "What you want? What do you want? What you calling me for?" And so um, I just told him, I said, "Okay, well, I'll be home, maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours later." He called back again. And by this time, I had an attitude like, "Yeah, I'll get home when I get home." And then, he'd get off the phone and that'd be the end of that. I never once thought, then one day he did tell me, when that continued, he said, "It would be nice to come home to my wife. It would be nice to come home to my family and y'all be here when I get home instead of me coming home to an empty house." I'm like, "Oh." I didn't think about that. Nope. I mean, I just didn't. And so that's what I started doing. I mean, I wasn't such to the place where I was like, "Oh, that ain't happening." So I don't mean that I had such an attitude that that's what was happening. But, I found out that when I stopped visiting and going around different ones, wasn't nobody coming around visiting me. And so I learned very quickly. So then, I mean, I learned how to stay home and be home when my husband came home. And I did, learn how to, I mean, I was cooking anyway for my kids because I was single for 16 years before we got married. And so, cooking, I cooked so much back. That's something I don't like to do right now is cook. I've been cooking since I was 10 years old. And it's just not one of my favorite things to do. And it's still somewhat of an issue for me. So anyway, but I cooked. There wasn't a time that he would come home and there wasn't a hot meal on that table or in the oven or on the stove, something, because not only did my kids have to eat, he had to eat. So that was something that I made sure that I did was cook, and learn had to learn a little bit how to compromise, and that's what that was all about. It was like, even though I wasn't conscious of that's what I was doing, that's what began to happen. It's like, okay, well, we did just get married, and it would be nice for me to be home when he comes home. And again, not because anybody taught me anything, it was just because he kind of made it clear, you know, um, that's kind of how he felt. It wasn't like, "Oh, well, you need to be home when I come home," because then he would have been by himself, period. Because yeah, we don't do that. Um, but to be able to voice your opinion without, getting into an argument over some crazy stuff. And I'm glad that it worked out. That he expressed what he wanted, and I was able to look at that and say, he's right. we've not been married that long, and I have a different priority now because I now have a husband. And I learned how to do some of those things. I wasn't good at all of it. I'm not going to tell you that. But this was the one thing that I did pay attention to, was that I thought that I could maintain my independence. And that's not good. Not that I think we even misunderstand about submissions, like, that whatever he says goes, and that's the final. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think there's a whole realm to this marriage thing that people are not getting into. Well, I'm not going to say they're not getting into it, but it's a give and it's a take. But I find, and this is my opinion only, that when people have a hard time getting along, it's out of pure selfishness. Because what? My needs are not being met. You're not making me happy. You're not doing what I need to have done. You're not doing this and you're not doing that. And we don't understand that marriage is more of a servant thing. Now, don't take that out of context either. It's like this has kind of been what I say about marriage now. That if you are meeting your husband's needs and your husband's meeting your needs, what's the problem? What is there to argue and fuss about? Because if you're arguing and fussing about stuff, it's because you're not getting something you think you need to have. I have stated in a previous video, I am not the one about the happy wife, happy life, happy house, happy spouse, whatever. I ain't into all of that. I just believe that when two people can mutually respect one another and honor one another the way that God intended for us to do. I'm not saying that you're going to have some perfect marriages. There are not going to be some disagreements, but I think that you can disagree and still not have to walk around the house for days and weeks and not talk to each other. I heard a pastor say, and he's being transparent about how he was in his marriage, and he said one time him and his wife walked around there almost a month not speaking to each other. And then at some point, they forgot why they were upset with each other. And he said it wore him out. And I know it's true. I used to do that. I used to be that woman that if my husband upset me, it'd be days, weeks. We ain't no say no month, but it at least days, and it could go into about a week or two. I didn't have anything to say. I also learned when you don't have anything to say, you ain't got nothing to give either. And you know what I mean. So you learn how to withhold everything. And that's out of order. All of it is out of order. And when the Bible said, don't let the sun go down in your wrath, it doesn't just mean if you have an argument with your neighbor, you need to make that thing right before it gets too late. It's husbands and wives too. You should not, if you are married, and you and your spouse have a different opinion about something and y'all feeling some kind of way, settle it before you go to bed. And it doesn't mean, just before you go to bed. I mean, you need to settle it, period, because then what happens is you give place for the enemy to step in and start, putting crap in your head about, oh, she don't care nothing about your feelings. She ain't thinking about how you feel about nothing. And excuse me. And then he, sitting over here, because I can tell you that we allowed the enemy to sell us a bill of goods. He really did. I am not sitting here trying to tell you, excuse me, that I was the perfect wife, because I was not. Was he the perfect husband? He was not. We only did what we knew to do. And our emotions were so tied up in all of that we couldn't see the forest for the trees. And we're Christians. We were sitting under the word. We were getting fed. Our lives were changing in so many different areas and ways and stuff like that. But in that area, and see, that's what the enemy will fight. He'll fight where those two people are agreeing. That's what he wants to fight. He does not want you to come together. He hates us, and he actually hates marriage. He hates that. And so he will do everything that he can to destroy that. And we let him. I'm not ashamed or feeling some kind of way that I'm sitting here saying that to you, because I know that there are couples that are going through crap that they don't want nobody to know about, and but it kind of shows all over. But I'm like, you just gotta, it's work. And since when is love about feeling? Because I know Tina said, what love got to do with it? And so my time is running out, but that is what we're going to talk about on the next video. What does love have to do with it? Tina said, it's just a secondhand emotion. So when I come back next time, I'm going to be talking about love in marriage, because we think it's about how we feel, and it is not. The Bible says that for God so loved the world that he gave. Didn't say he felt, he gave. So when people can tell you all day long that they love you, but if they're not showing you, then it's just lip service. Because the only one that knows the heart is God. There's another song I don't know why I was thinking about it today. And I'm mopping the floor at my client's house, and this song popped into my head. It says, "Not on the outside, but inside strong. I love you, I love you, I love you." I'm like, the devil is a liar. So if you're talking, I'm getting off. I crack myself up, but it's all right. Listening to that song is like, some man telling you, "Oh, not on the outside, but inside strong." That he can treat you any old kind of way on, out and whatever, do whatever he want to, um, but he loves you from the inside. No, he don't. He lying. And I don't, and that's the thing about listening to songs, because that used to be my jam back in the day. Not on the outside, but ooh, that was my jam. But now I hear the words to that song. That ain't right. Okay, y'all. We're going to save this for the next video. What's love got to do with it? And I'm going to bring it home. All right, you guys, thank you for hanging with me for this short period of time. I know that I like to squirrel. I can get going. I really need to have some notes, but I wouldn't stick with them anyway, because I got some over there. And you saw me look over there a couple of times. I'm like, well, I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to talk. So if y'all come on in the room, we're going to have a conversation. At least I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk. And maybe one day y'all will start leaving some comments, about some of the things that I'm talking about, because I'm going to keep going with this. And but I have another interesting topic that I'm going to come up with after I'm done talking about marriage. And but it still has what's love got to do with it. So y'all be safe. Thank you for joining me today. And I'll see you next time. God bless you.